Hi, welcome to the Get Ready with God podcast. My name is Julie Taylor, and I'm your host, and I am not God. Obviously, I'm not an expert. I'm not even a scriptorian. I'm literally just a girl sitting in front of a microphone, hoping God is real. The Get Ready with God podcast is the daily devotional podcast to help you see divinity in every day. And I am so happy to announce I made it through the wilderness. Happy 50th episode to you, to me. We've made it through the wilderness. I'm feeling a little bit lighter. I'm feeling a little bit better. You know, this podcast is aimed to help you see the divinity in every day. And some seasons of life that looks like really like scraping the barrel and begging and trying and working so hard to see divinity. And other times of life and other days, it kind of smacks you in the face. And I had a week of being smacked in the face. And that's probably why I feel a little bit like I've made it through the wilderness. I was able to see divinity in my everyday this week in a few poignant ways that I'm excited to tell you about. But one of those was yesterday I went hiking. Hiking is my favorite thing to do. It's my number one favorite activity. The one area of life you can't trust me in is hiking, because I will lie to you and tell you that the hike is shorter and easier than it is to get you on the trail. And I know that about myself. My kids know that about me. My husband knows that about me. I am not to be trusted when it comes to hiking. I will lie to get you on the trail. But once I get you there, I'm going to support you every step of the way, and I'm going to cheer for you, and I'm going to sing you Miley Cyrus. And one way or another, we're going to get through that hike, and you're going to feel better when it's over. And that is my personal mission. Yesterday, I was able to go on a hike with just me and Ryan. We climbed Bald Mountain. And Bald Mountain, it's a short hike. It's only 3 miles round trip, but there's quite a bit of elevation gain. I think we gained around 1,200 feet of elevation. So it is steep. It would be defined, I believe, as strenuous, but because it's so short, in my mind, it doesn't get labeled that way. But again, don't trust me. Don't trust me. Because we were camping so close to it, I just was like, let's go do that hike. It's so fun. I love getting to the top of a mountain. But then logistically, things kept falling through. It was a more stressful weekend than anticipated. I didn't think we were going to get to do it. And I was feeling kind of bummed. And Ryan was all of a sudden just like, let's do it. Let's just go do it. And that was such a gift to me and a sacrifice on his part, because this man does not like to hike. And he has supported me in dragging our children on hikes before they could walk. And he has done some really big hikes that he wouldn't have done otherwise. And it's never his first choice. And I knew yesterday this was the last thing this man wanted to do. But he was like, let's go do it. Let's go do it. So we did it, just he and I. And one of the reasons I like hiking is because I just love the epiphanies. I just think like the combination of walking and physical output and in nature is just like a recipe for inspiration, a recipe for clarity, a recipe for everything good. I love what happens when you hike. And, sometimes the actual process of hiking is miserable, but it takes you to places you couldn't go otherwise. That's what my dad always says. Let's quote Byron Taylor. That's my dad. He's a wise man. He's the one who taught me to hike and has taken me on most of the adventures in my life. And he said once on a really hard hike, he's like, when people ask me why I like to hike, it's not that I like to hike all the time. It's just that it takes me to places I can't get otherwise, meaning there's places in nature and in this world that you can't see with your eyes if you're not willing to hike. You can't drive there. You can't fly there. The only way to do it is to hike. It takes you to places you can go otherwise. So, quick context. A week before this hike, I met with the leader of my congregation, and we were talking through some things. And I might have mentioned it on this podcast. I don't remember what I say, but I heard myself say out loud to him, I just wish faith was easy. How would it be to just believe easily and not have to fight for it? And so that's kind of where I've been, right? In this dark space of like, man, why do I have to fight so hard for this? And I've been having hard conversations with people around this topic. It's been really eye-opening and fascinating and interesting. But I was slipping into a little bit of like victimhood of just like, man, wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be nice if this was easy? Wouldn't it be nice if you just believed? And I'm actually married to someone who is like that. Ryan is more of a natural believer. I think it's one of his gifts. But that's the context of going into this hike. And as we were climbing, the hike was a lot easier for me than it was for Ryan. Like hiking is like a specific type of hard. That's what she said. And so he was struggling a lot more than me because he doesn't hike. And it's not his favorite thing to do. He actually doesn't like to do it. He was doing it to be nice to me, and he was doing it with a good attitude, but he doesn't like to do it. He doesn't like to do it. And it was really, really challenging for him. So like a quarter of the mile in, he paused and he's like, I actually don't know if I could do this. And I was like, oh, you absolutely can. Like, you definitely can do this. Do you want to do it? Because I'm not going to force you to do it. But like, this isn't a question of if you can do this. I know you can do this. He's like, no, let's do it. So we were going on, and as we were going on, I was singing Miley Cyrus to him. But then again, we stopped, and I just looked at him, and I said to him, but I just looked at him and said, oh, you've done way harder things than this. Like, this hike is actually nothing, and I know that you can do it. And we kept going, and we kept going, and we kept going. And as I was hiking, and I already shared a little bit of this on Instagram, so I'm sorry to be a content repeater, but I just was thinking about how on a hike, specifically at the top of a mountain, is the only time in my life when faith comes easy to me. When I hike with my kids, I am more patient, more loving, and more encouraging than in any other aspect of life. I believe in them more, I trust them more, I see them as capable, and I communicate it very clearly and very positively. Whereas in other parts of my motherhood, I have to work harder to find that positivity and that trust in my kids, and especially to communicate it because I tend to communicate criticism a little bit easier. And so I realize that when I'm on these hikes, it flows freely. I trust and believe fully in myself, in the people that I'm with, and in God. And I just then started thinking of the metaphors because I'm insufferable and I couldn't. Hiking has so many metaphors. That's the other reason I like it, because I live for a good metaphor. When you're climbing the metaphorical mountain, you need to ask for help. It brings you to a point of desperation. You might pray. You might start believing in God. Even an atheist is going to start bargaining with God if things get bad enough, okay? The kind of desperation that it brings you to. And then when you get to the top of the mountain and you've just gone through that strenuous journey, it's fresh enough. The victory is there. So you have the peace, you have the view, you have the awe where it's undeniable. The divinity is undeniable. And also the divine support that got you there. Your lungs are still burning. Your body's still hurting. It's still fresh enough that you're not going to deny the assistance that got you there. And as I sat at the top of the mountain yesterday, I was like, whoa, I just begged a week ago out loud to my church leader, I just wish faith was easy. And then a week later, I was put in a situation where I realized in this one specific place in my life, faith is easy. Faith comes easy to me when I'm hiking a mountain. And what a beautiful gift for me to be able to see that and to experience that. So let's circle back to Ryan. When we got back to the parking lot, he audibly was like, oh, and I was like, oh, do you feel relieved? And he was like, yeah, I didn't know if I could do that. And I'm just so happy to be done. I was like, well, I knew you could the whole time. So you can have my faith. And we only one of us needs to have faith sometimes. It's a marriage. But I just thought there's so often when I compare myself to Ryan or people like Ryan who believe easily and have this faith and this positivity that comes so naturally to them. And it can make me feel bad about myself because I just wish that I could be more like that. Partly because I do view it, I think, as superior sometimes, but also just because it looks like a more pleasant experience to not live in existential crisis. It feels like it'd be nice to not have to live with my brain and my constant threat of darkness overcoming me. But I didn't just see divinity in nature and in that hike. I saw divinity in being a witness to a place in my life where faith is easy. And I'm a big believer that if something is possible in one area of your life, it's possible in all areas of your life. So to find the place that you're successful and then replicate that in other places. So it gave me hope that as I continue in this journey of life, that the trajectory will be that maybe faith does continue to get easier. And it also showed me that we all have our strengths. Which is so cheesy, but Ryan needed my faith. I knew he could get to the top of the mountain. I never doubted him, but it was hard. That hike yesterday was harder for him than it was for me. So he was asked to do more than I was, even though it was like the same trail and the same peak. It wasn't hard for me. It wasn't challenging for me. It was for him. And that to me is just true of we're all on this journey and we get gifted different gifts, different strengths, different places of faith. And so the same exact task requires two different output levels from the person and can create very different experiences for two different people doing the same thing. TLDR, the title of this episode is Comparison is the Thief of Joy. But really, these platitudes are platitudes for a reason. We just have to learn them on our own time. We all are going to have our challenges of faith. For me, it's believing in God. For Ryan, it's in his own capabilities of getting to the top of the mountain. At the top of the mountain, for me, it's easy to believe. That's not the situation for Ryan. For him, it's once we're back in the parking lot. So stop comparing your faith to other people. Stop comparing your strengths to other people. And stop beating yourself up for where you're at. Divinity exists. I saw it show up for me. And it was on a mountain, which shocks no one because faith on mountains is easy. Love you so much. Bye.